All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful day. Today was an epic reversal, and everybody keeps asking what caused it. So we're going to run through that real quick, and then we are going to talk about the topic of this video. But if you didn't see what happened today in the markets, it was absolutely wild, and there was a bunch of things going on. The NASDAQ gapped up alongside the S&P. NASDAQ was up 1.3% at one moment and ended up down 0.5%. You can see the gap up on the SPY. SPX, it opened up above 4,600. We were pumping it up in the morning. You broke another solid level, hit another high, and then all of this happened. So granted, it brings you back to where you were at the start of the week, but how it all played out was pretty crazy. Even after hours, we had a couple of developments. Intel did very good. Finally, everybody thought they were going to die or they were cutting dividends last earnings. They came in very strong today. Ford, they did good, but they've given some guidance. They're dropping now, but I have Bank of America here because apparently the Fed said Signature Bank, or I think Bank of Mellon and Bank of America gave inaccurate data for the stress test, and they had to update it. So we actually got after hours updated ratios and numbers from Bank of America. So that's what happened after hours. But now, why did all of this happen? There was a bunch of things in the morning. It really started with the bonds, but the big driver was the data. Why were we up so much? It was Meta. Everything was looking good. Earnings in the morning. Abivai did good. McDonald's did good. There was more talks of China stimulus. People were just overall feeling good, even coming into the ECB. But the real kicker, in my opinion, it was the GDP data in the morning, and it came in extremely hot, or better than expected. Even the Fed, if you look at the SEP, they were expecting a GDP for this quarter to be a lot lower. Even if you think about October and the start of the year, nobody thought it would come in this hot, and it came in at 2.4, where the estimate was 2. Even durable goods, they rocketed up. And now here's the best part about it. If you go down to the price index quarter over quarter, it was expected to come in at like 3%. It came in at 2.2. So this was a good print. It showed the economy was good. There was resilience, but that killed the bonds, and the bonds started to go down. You just had Powell talk about the data and rates and all of that, and that got hawkish for the bonds. The yields rocketed up, and then this is where it gets interesting in the middle of the day. This was all pre-market. Then you got the ECB. This was all what was factoring into it, but this little drop right here, it was right at like 1 o'clock, and it was the bond auction as well as a report from the Nikkei on the Bank of Japan meeting tomorrow or tonight. And the first thing, the bond auction, you even see the 10-year, they dropped. It was the 7-year bond auction, and it came in a lot higher. People expected it to come in higher, but even compared to the last one, it's now another quarter point up. All these yields are breaking or hitting these breaking points. We still haven't gone above 5 on the 2-year or held above it. The 10-year still needs to get around 4.5, 4.75 and get up and hold. So after a rate hike and now an auction where people didn't show up, that caused the bonds to move. But literally at the same time, there was a report on the Bank of Japan not altering the inflation target, not fully changing the YCC, but changing like the upper band and modifying it, kind of like we saw Kuroda do around December. This was somewhat recent, but that shot the yen up. It affected the dollar. The euro was already reacting to the ECB rate hike, but this just set everything in reversal. You could think the worst case scenario. That often happens when dealing with these Bank of Japan rumors, but all in all now, this is boiling down to tomorrow morning, that PCE. If the GDP gave us this reaction, I think PCE is going to be very important. And then tonight, Bank of Japan, if there is a surpriser, if there is a big tweak, and it really is like a black swan tweak in the sense that they make a big change that would force people to sell U.S. stocks and want to go to Japan, then yeah, we'll have a problem. But for the most part, it might be something minor, kind of like we're seeing with the ECB and the Fed where they want to move in a direction but not really commit to anything big just yet. So I might go live for the Bank of Japan tonight. We'll see. But that's what caused this crazy move. We got a couple more earnings in the morning with oil. And like I've been saying, the data tomorrow, Bank of Japan. That's why I wasn't freaking out too much on this. It was a big move and it ended the Dow streak. But next week, we're going to start getting the rest of the earnings, Apple and Amazon. Then we're going to get more data. And then I think we could smooth things out and see what's up. But Chad, I'm not going over plays today. Now what I want to talk to you about is it being the time to get rich. Like, now is the time to get rich, but I'm not talking like with a play. I'm not talking about anything in that sense. What I'm laughing at and what I mean is like it's time to use your time. And why I'm saying this, because somebody asked me for an origin story video, and I've posted some on here. And, you know, shout out to a lot of the OGs, and I'm really excited to show you this too, because I wanted to give you something new, and I think you guys will like this. But at the same time, you've already heard some of the origin story. I posted many videos over, you know, I have 2,000 videos on this channel. It's crazy, almost 2,000. But I've talked about it a lot, and just the real message I want to get behind here is like, you still have time, especially if you're watching this video. I don't know how old you are. I can make an assumption, but you still have time right now to start your origin story today. I would even argue part of what you're seeing now, I feel like I am still part of my origin story, and just what I'm about to show you, looking through time, man. There's a lot of time that we have and a lot of time that has gone by, but don't get caught up and lost in the sauce and lose the factor of the stock market that you get rich utilizing your time. So what I'm talking about today is my origin story, but in this case, like I said, I want to give you something new. So let's start with the crib, man. I didn't know what to show you, but this is that house I told you about. This is even me and my mom, and this is me as a kid. I know it's weird blurring out the faces, even on the child. Like, you'll see one of them, you can see I had the little fro too as a kid, but I've told you stories about this kind of growing up and how it was. And even then, my parents, they were not from here. You know, I was born here. I got to get born and raised in San Diego, and that is truly a blessing. But my parents came from Egypt, and this is the first house I believe that they purchased. Before I was born, they rented houses, and even then, this was like early 90s, I believe. I have no idea when this is actually. I think I'm a couple years old, but this was kind of even my dad's like first foray into real estate before he got scammed. They got this house. It's crazy to think about how it was, but this was like the house I grew up in. I would tell you guys this story. We played the game, you turn the lights on, and then instead of floor is lava, you go after the Sarasir. Some of you know what that is, but this is part of the origin story. So like I'm saying, I don't know if I've ever showed you guys this before. I've posted this house on my Instagram many years ago. Some of you may have seen it, or if you've heard some of this story. So that's one thing I wanted to show you. This is a little bit of young Josh. Here's another one. I may have told you, I think I got left at 7-Eleven at this one, and you'll even see on the next, this was like my thing that my parents like doing. I think it was mainly my dad. They like taking pictures of me drinking big gulps, and it's just weird, man. That probably explains my bad eating habits too from a youngin', but you can see this is just young Josh. Check the fit, all of that. Here's another one again, the whole drinking picture. That one's even my sister. So this one, that Colt sister, you know, she backed out a little bit. She's a liberal now. We grew up the same, but it's just like, it's crazy. And just looking at all of this, man, I mean, these are old pictures. It makes me feel older than I probably really am, but at the end of the day, man, it's a blessing, man. This is why I'm always saying finger to the sky, but it's crazy to think some of this feels like yesterday. Even then, like seeing that's my sister, and you know, even talking to her just a couple of days ago, and just the changes. You know, my mom, even in that picture, you know, going back to this one right here, I think she was like, I want to say 30 years old or something like that. She was young, and I was like her last child, but she had a bunch of kids, and like this is even part of what I'm saying here. It's like, utilize time to get rich. Like, I wasn't like, whatever my origin story was, again, you may know the Jim Cramer stuff at 14, you know, I really had an interest. I wanted to succeed, man. And just like, you know, I wasn't supposed to get into the market And I don't know how it ended up like that. And I do think it's a blessing, but it's like, my mom, she was raising kids. My dad, they were working. They did some Bible missionary stuff in the past too, but it's like that is the background that I was coming from. So it's like I always respected working, like even getting into the stock market. It's always about supplementing. And like I did, I always saw the appeal to use it as an income and that. And I know you can, and I think you have way more opportunities now than ever to do that. But the real thing that I've seen, and I've always it's just been so beneficial, is like how the market and just knowing about it and knowing about it over time and knowing how to make those adequate decisions, the sound intellectual framework, how like over time, how much that could really help and how much things can change. Like, it's crazy. Again, I don't take pictures, but to look at some of these pictures, I mean, it's very humbling and it's wild. But, and again, I hope you guys like this. I hope you got to see this. Let me know if I showed you before. I don't think I have, or at least I don't think I talked about it like this to this extent, but that's the theme right now. And that's what I'm telling you for Thursday. I want you to get into side hustles, real estate, stocks, learn even the speculation and the trading. But it's like, don't ever forget that you are going to be here, God willing, and you are going to spend time. And it's just like the little amounts of money and investments over time and how you could utilize that time to change so much. And life could change crazy. You might look back at some pictures that you took today, and if depending on what plan of action you set forth today, I mean, you're going to look back and you might get the same feeling I get today. So I wanted to give you the origin story, and I wanted to give you something new, but all I'm ending up here telling you, and like what I really feel is like, I think your origin story, like, it starts today. It doesn't even matter. It's like most of us all have so much time ahead of us, and what are you going to create with it? And it's really, we all came from somewhere, and some of us got better starts, worse starts, and all of that. But I mean, you're listening here right now, and you have this opportunity, and it's really about where you go from now. I mean, you're going to have, it's the same thing. I saw my mom grow up in these pictures, a lot of other people too. It's just like, even I get all of it's just tripping me out, man, when I look at it. But I just hope you understand part of the origin story does start here today. So I hope you take advantage of it. But Chad, I guess that's what we're doing here for Thursday. I do have a couple of plays. We'll talk about them here on stream. Good luck for Bank of Japan, and maybe I will see you live, and have a wonderful day, and peace out. I'm not going to get awkward. I'm just hard. That's it.